mentioned before, the Queen's ship was damaged during escape through the blockade of Naboo. R2-D2 managed to restore the power to the ship, but due to the major loss of fuel and damaged parts, Obi-Wan suggests that they should land on the nearby remote planet Tatooine. Now, don't you think it's a little convenient that out of all the planets in the galaxy, they just happen to choose Tatooine? I mean, doesn't that seem just a little too convenient?
Yeah, it's a big coincidence, but you know, I'm actually going to hold off on talking about this till later because coincidence just seems to be the pastime of Tatooine.
Meanwhile, back on Naboo, we see Viceroy Gunray talking to Darth Sidious.
One Naboo cruiser got past the blockade.
I want that treaty signed.
My lord, it's impossible to locate the ship. It's out of our range.
Not full of Sith.
Yay! It's Ray Park, the badass-looking Sith that serves absolutely no fucking purpose!
Meanwhile, Qui-Gon heads off in search of ship parts with Padme, and for some reasons unexplained, Jar Jar Binks.
Hey, don't forget to mention that Padme's actually the Queen's handmaiden.
Yeah, we're told that Padme is the handmaiden, but they make it far too obvious that she's the Queen, so no mystery exists here. They find a local shop where they meet yet another racist stereotype in the form of a money-grubbing, law-nosed, two-faced asshole named Watto.
Ship. It would be cheaper, I think, huh? Saying which, how's he gonna pay for all of this, huh?
No, he doesn't look or act like a stereotypical Jew at all. While Qui-Gon speaks with Watto, Padme is greeted by this.
Are you an angel?
No, my son. She's not an angel. In fact, God had nothing to do with this movie. This movie is just an unholy curse sent by the beast we call the Desolate One.
I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
Yeah, folks, that's Darth Vader. Explain that to your God.
So, due to not having the correct currency on Tatooine, Qui-Gon Jinn leaves the parts store and tries to look for an alternative way to get into parts. And this is where the world's greatest villain comes in.
Has anybody ever seen a pod race?
They're pod racing on Menace. Very fast, very dangerous.
I'm the only human who can do it.
Anakin comes up with this bullshit idea to have Qui-Gon sponsor him in tomorrow's pod race to win the parts that he needs from Watto. The funny thing is, he never mentioned that he never won a single goddamn pod race. Nor did he even finish one for that matter.
Yeah, Anakin does fail to tell them that he's never won a race, but George Lucas's script fails to tell us why Anakin is such a fucking saint.
Mom, you say the biggest problem in this universe is nobody helps each other.
He's like that little bastard kid from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Every time he's on screen, you just want to deck him.
So even though Qui-Gon doesn't know a single thing about the perky little brat, he goes, hey, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. Despite even Padme's rejection. Well, at least she's using her head.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if your queen is in danger and your people are dying, just crack out a lightsaber, kill Watto, and steal the damn parts if you have to. I know you're the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, but come on, guys, there's gotta be a limit to your patience somewhere. Qui-Gon has a heart-to-heart with Anakin's mother, where she tells him that Anakin had no father. When they test his midi-chlorian levels, it turns out that he is more powerful than Yoda. Midi-chlorians, the innocence of my childhood, was raped for the very first time the second that word was uttered in the film. The Force is no longer magical or mystical, it's just bacteria.
I got this itch in the back of my neck. Does that mean I have Jedi potential? I'm not sure.
Thank you, George Lucas, for making me die a little more inside with each passing second of this film. There's one more thing I want to discuss here. When I said earlier on that coincidence seems to be the specialty on Tatooine, here's what I meant. Not only are we meant to believe that landing on Tatooine was nothing more than a coincidence, but we are also meant to believe that Anakin built C-3PO. What are the odds that in A New Hope, Luke would be aided by his father's old droids? Are we really supposed to buy this? Qui-Gon states in the film that nothing happens by accident, and this film pretty much proves that statement to be total bullshit. 90% of the crap in this film seems to happen by accident.
Let's get to the worst part in the movie. The pod race. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but to me the pod race was the longest and most boringest thing I've ever seen in any Star Wars film. The pod race was about 30 to 45 minutes, or maybe it just felt that way, of loud noise and CGI. I mean, don't get me wrong, the CGI looks absolutely great, but the pod race was just plain stupid. Especially when you know Anakin is going to win the race. I can't stand the pod race. To me, it was like watching NASCAR. And no offense to all you NASCAR fans, but it's fucking boring. Oh, it's the pod race. Oh, well, time to catch up on my reading. over, now I can get to the rest of this movie.
Yeah, maybe a ghetto NASCAR race, but on the plus side, it's an easy sport to get into when you're hammered. Roast. In Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan states that when he met Anakin, he was a great pilot. Yet when he meets him in this film, he's just some kid who, once again, by coincidence, won one pod race. If that makes him a great pilot, then I must be God, because I've held the high score on Cruis'n USA at the arcade for 3 years. Well, as I just said, he wins the race, and in turn, thanks to a bet that Qui-Gon made with Watto, he's also earned his freedom from slavery. So Anakin packs his things and says goodbye to his mother.
Can't do it.
Honey.
Will I ever see you again?
What does your heart tell you?
I hope so. Yes. I guess.
Wow, just think of all the starving children we could have saved with this lousy actor's paycheck. When they all head back to the ship, they are attacked by Darth Maul, but manage to escape and head for Coruscant.
Tell them to take off!
As soon as the Queen's ship lands on Coruscant, the party split ways. The Queen and her guards head to the Senate to try to resolve her issues with the blockade of Naboo, as the Jedi head to the Jedi Temple to tell the Council about the attack on Tatooine.
Speak with the Jedi Council immediately. The situation has become much more complicated.
Meanwhile, Qui-Gon confronts the Jedi Council and tells them that he may have found the boy that will one day bring balance to the Force. The problem with this scene is that every member of the Jedi Council seems completely uninterested in Anakin. Are they hard of hearing or something? This is a kid from a supposed prophecy whose destiny is to bring peace to the fucking galaxy. Are they just retarded? Well, anyway, they test him, and in doing so, Yoda senses much fear in him. Mace Windu explains later on why they won't train Anakin.
He's too old.
Too old? He's 9! Don't tell me 9-year-olds on freaking Coruscant these days have a 401k! Now I'm going to go back to part 1 of the review, where I talked about the books and how they explained that Yoda trained Obi-Wan as a youngling. I could buy this if the books didn't also state that to be too old to receive the training, you'd have to be 13. So I wouldn't put too much stock in what the books have to say, even if every single one of them is better than this movie.
Back at the Senate, Palpatine, the Senator of Naboo, explains to Queen Amidala that he has no faith that the Chancellor of the Republic is going to resolve the problem on Naboo. He tells the Queen that the Chancellor has no real power and that she should vote for a new Chancellor. This will all come together later on in the prequel trilogy in Revenge of the Sith, and I'll bring it up again in the final part of this review. So the Queen explains the situation to the Chancellor at the Senate. Just as Palpatine said, he is unable to do anything due to the lack of power, so Amidala is forced to ask for a vote and no confidence in Chancellor Valorum.
It was a little fucked up that she voted against Valorum, even though it's so blatantly obvious that she didn't want to in the first place. One thing I can say I did love about the prequels as they progressed was Palpatine. He was so suave and yet so damn evil. He almost gave off a Hannibal Lecter type vibe. I did, however, find the political debates boring regardless, but that's just me.
Later on, after the hearing in the Senate, Palpatine informs Amidala that he was nominated for Chancellor, and he feels the tragedy in Naboo will help get him elected. Boy! This doesn't seem like it was planned at all! Amidala doesn't seem to give two shits either way and tells Palpatine that she's heading back to Naboo. And this sets up the third and final act of The Phantom Menace.